Hello everyone, I am Dr. Kiran Mai. Today we are going to discuss about mood stabilizers and CNS stimulants. Mood disorders. Before going to the mood stabilizers, we'll have a brief introduction about mood disorders. Mood disorders, patients who are experience the alteration in the moods, that is depression, mania, like that. There is no thought process defect in these mood disorders. Mood disorders are three: depression, mania, and bipolar diseases. Depression we have already discussed in the last class. So, in this class, we are going to discuss about mania and bipolar disease pharmacotherapy. Mania. Mania is characterized by excessive desire and too much of euphoria. Causes there are many hypotheses to prove mania. The main and accepted hypothesis of first one is genetical preponderance. There is 80% of chances of affecting monozygotic twins. If one twin is affected, there is 80% chance to affected other kid is other twin also affected by 80%. 80%. Second one is increased dopamine and norepinephrine. It's a monoamine theory. The increase or excessive dopamine norepinephrine will cause a mania. And bipolar disease. Bipolar disease, it is a cycle of depression, normal mood, pathological excitement. Persons who are having few depressive stages, then that is followed by pathological excitement. Sometimes they may be in the normal mood also. If these cycles are more than 4 per year, those patients are called rapid cyclists. Drugs used in the mood disorders. Mood disorders we are using lithium carbonate sedatives like diazepam. Alternative to lithium, if lithium is contraindicated in few conditions, we can use anticonvulsant like carbamazepine, valproate, topiramate, and antipsychotic drugs, olanzapine. In this class, we are going to discuss about lithium carbonate. Other things will be already discussed in other classes. So we are concentrating here lithium carbonate. Introduction. Lithium is a monovalent cation which is in the same line in the periodic table where sodium is present. So previously, long back, it was introduced as a table salt devoid of sodium for the for hypertensive patients. But on prolonged use of this lithium, there are two events are occurred. First one is so many patients they have died because of lithium toxicity. Second one, many hypertensive patients who are bipolar, they have a good improvement in spite of lithium mood stabilizing activity. It was not used because it is a narrow therapeutic window or narrow margin of safety. It is having this. So, of these kind of drugs, we need to do frequent measurement of serum steady state levels. So, whenever the development of serum steady state levels are introduced, lithium is again it is in the clinical practice. Mechanism of action of lithium. Lithium, which inhibits the phosphatase enzymes. These phosphatase enzymes, which convert inositol triphosphate to inositol diphosphate. It breaks down the IP3 into IP2, IP2 into IP1. These inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol DAG and IP3. These are the second messengers for the G protein coupled receptor of GQ type. These second messengers they facilitate the adrenergic and cholinergic transmission. So we are inhibiting this cycle. So adrenergic and cholinergic transmission is decreased by using of lithium. Pharmacokinetics. Lithium is orally absorbed very well. It is not protein bound. It is not metabolized. It is excreted through kidneys 95%, through sweat 5%. The TF of lithium is 24 hours. The pharmacological actions of lithium. Lithium Lithium is having many pharmacological actions in human body. First one, it will cause leukocytosis. Many drugs will cause leukopenias, but lithium, it is causing leukocytosis. So it is used as a leukocytogenic agent in in cancer patients who are having leukopenias due to the cancer chemotherapy. It will cause tremors, hypothyroidism, because it will inhibit the synthesis of enzymes. So it profoundly affects on thyroid gland. So hypothyroidism will patient may develop hypothyroid. This lithium will cause drug-induced diabetes insipidus. How it will cause? Here, this is a renal tubular epithelial cell. This is urinary lumen. This is blood. This is the renal cell. Lithium and sodium both are entered to the cell with the same channel. But sodium is entered to the blood with another channel which is presented at the membrane. Basolateral membrane. But lithium, it can enter to the cell by this channel, but it cannot enter to the blood. So lithium gets accumulated in the renal tubular epithelial cell. It will cause toxicity. So water and sodium will not enter to the cell. Number of more amount of water fluid volume is excreted. It will cause that is called diabetes insipidus. The treatment for lithium-induced diabetes insipidus is epithelial sodium channel blockers. Vasopressin is not at all useful here because this epithelial sodium channel blockers, they will block the entry for the both sodium and lithium. So lithium may not enter into the renal epithelial and tubular epithelial cell. This is regarding the diabetes insipidus caused by the lithium. It is a teratogenic agent, and not only teratogenic, when it freely crosses the placental barrier, it will show the similar effects in the fetus also. It is a teratogenic agent. Whenever this lithium is given in the early first trimester like that, it will cause abstinence anomaly. And fetal effects like fetus may have depression, hypothyroid, renal problems. These may develop in the fetus. It will increase the calcium levels. Nausea and weight gain. Nausea is very much important because it is a common side effects for the many drugs. But for lithium, it is very important because whenever any drug which causes nausea and vomitings, or that may not affect those drugs metabolism, but here when patient develop nausea or vomiting, uh, renal tubular epithelial cells, they'll try to absorb the sodium more, so lithium is also reabsorbed more, toxicity levels are increased. So nausea or vomiting, they are very dangerous for this patients who are using in the who are under the lithium treatment. The therapeutic uses of lithium, it is used in acute mania. In acute mania, patient is very violent and aggressive. So first we have to sedate the patient, then we have to give lithium. Lithium action, because sedatives are very much important here because action of lithium starts after 1 to 2 weeks of introduction. So to calm down the patient and to stop that aggressive behavior, we have to give sedatives. In acute mania, the drug of choice is sedative. Unipolar depression. In unipolar depression, prophylaxis for unipolar depression is lithium. It's a drug of choice because it inhibits the BDRF, brain derived relaxing factor. In depression, there is a decreased level of BDRF is there. So we are inhibiting the breakdown of BDRF, so it will have effect on depression. Alternative for the lithium here is lamotrigine. Lithium is also having, it inhibits the suicidal tendencies, but lamotrigine, it doesn't have that characteristic. Bipolar disorder. Prophylaxis for mania is lithium. Drug of choice is here lithium. Alternative for the lithium is anticonvulsant. We have already discussed carbamazepine, valproate. We can use this anticonvulsant when lithium is in the in pregnancy. Lithium and as well as anticonvulsant both are contraindicated. So the drug of choice in the pregnancy for bipolar disease is olanzapine. It's a atypical antipsychotic drug. Other uses of lithium, rarely we use in the chemotherapy induced leukopenias because lithium will increase the leukocyte count. It's, and interactions. Whenever uh, when a patient is on a lithium therapy, doctors advise is fasting is contraindicated because if a patient is fasting, renal tubule will reabsorb sodium more because body needs sodium. So lithium also reabsorbed more. Toxicity will increase. Thiazide, lisinopril, and indomethacin. These are the drugs which increase the lithium toxicity. This is regarding lithium interactions. Next topic is CNS stimulants. CNS stimulants. These CNS stimulants, these are very little clinical use. These are classified as respiratory stimulants and convulsant, psychomotor stimulants. Respiratory stimulants, example is doxapram. It is stimulates respiratory center as well as vasomotor center. It is a short acting drug and is very secure drug. It is used in the post anesthetic respiratory depression, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, in apnea. It is contraindicated in asthma and epilepsy. Side effects for the doxapram are restlessness, tachycardia, convulsions. These are they don't have any indications for clinical use. They are mainly used for research tools only. Example for the convulsants are picrotoxin, strychnine, phentermine, terazone. Psychomotor stimulants. Psychomotor stimulants, these are classified as amphetamine group, non-amphetamine group, cocaine, and methylxanthines. Among these group, methylxanthines are used used more rather when compared to the other group drugs. First, we'll go for the amphetamine group. This amphetamine group, which is a CNS stimulant, which displaces the dopamine and norepinephrine from its storage vesicles. Number two, it inhibits the metabolism of dopamine and norepinephrine by inhibiting the monoamine oxidase B. So, by these two actions, increase dopamine and norepinephrine in concentration in the synaptic cleft. These amphetamines, they are orally well absorbed. They can cross blood-brain barrier. These are basic drugs. So acidification of urine reduces the reabsorption. They are used very little. Used in attention deficit hyperactive syndrome. In this syndrome, it is mainly pediatric disease. It is characterized by hyperactivity, inability to concentrate, and impulsive behavior. In this disease, we can use dexamphetamine, methylphenidate, and atomoxetine. The atomoxetine, it is a non-stimulant, non-addictive drug, which is only norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor instead of dopamine. So it is a safe drug. Contraindication for the atomoxetine is glaucoma. It is safer than the dexamphetamine, methylphenidate. So atomoxetine, which is mainly used in attention deficit hyperkinetic disorder, that is called ADHD. Narcolepsy. Here we are using amphetamine, especially methamphetamine. Narcolepsy, this disorder is characterized by sleep attacks, particularly during the daytime. Sudden loss of muscle tone, that is called catalepsy, which is reversible. Modafinil, a non-amphetamine derivative, it is used successfully in the treatment of narcolepsy. It is devoid of abuse liability. So for narcolepsy, the treatment of choice is modafinil. We can use amphetamine, but modafinil is a drug of choice. Next use for the amphetamines are the pharmacological effects of amphetamines. They markedly influence on mental functions and behavior. They increase the excitement, euphoria, increase motor activity. They reduce the fatigue and they suppress the hunger centers. So it is anorexia. But when we use these amphetamines prolongedly, it will cause psychotic behavior with prolonged administration. Amphetamine, which is caused wakefulness, and it increases the capacity of work and euphoria. Fenfluramine, dexofenfluramine, these are the markedly anorexing agent, but anorexing agent, these are used in the appetite suppression. But tolerance for these actions are developed very rapidly, and substance abuse also very much with this drugs. So they lost their efficacy in the treatment of appetite. Adverse drug reactions for the amphetamines are they cause substance abuse. They can cause tolerance is very fast for the amphetamine for its beneficial uses. Toxicity is very much with the amphetamine. It may cause death also. Cocaine. Cocaine is a natural alkaloid which is derived from the cocoa leaves. Its mechanism of action is a norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. So it also increases the norepinephrine levels in the synaptic cleft. It previously used as a ocular anesthetics. It is nowadays it is not at all using because it constricts the conjunctival vessels. That's why it is not using. Not only that, it is also having addiction liability, toxicity. Cocaine is a protoplasmic poisoning, and the use of cocaine will cause tactile hallucinations like cocaine bugs. So, cocaine is withdrawn from the therapeutical uses, but it is a substance for abuse. And the last and the final topic for today is methylxanthines. These methylxanthines, they are natural products. They're mainly present in beverages like tea, coffee, cola in the form of theophylline, theobromine, caffeine. Their mechanism of action is it is there are two hypotheses. First hypothesis is they inhibit the phosphodiesterase enzyme, which increase the cyclic AMP formation. This cyclic AMP will cause vasodilatation. Number two, adenosine receptor blockers. Adenosine having various receptors A1, A2, A3. These adenosine will cause CVS and CNS depression by blocking these adenosine receptors. These methylxanthines will cause CNS stimulation, CVS stimulation. Pharmacological actions of methylxanthines. Pharmacological actions CNS. In CNS, it will sorry. In CNS, it will cause. It is a CNS stimulant. It will cause wakefulness, alertness, but it will not cause euphoria, psychotic behavior. If we compare with the amphetamine group, in CVS, it will cause increased heart rate, vasodilatation of coronary blood vessels, vasoconstriction of cerebral blood vessels. That's why it is used in the caffeine is used in the treatment of migraine. In renal system, it will cause it. It has very diuretic effect, very less diuretic effect. Clinical uses of this methylxanthines, coffin. Coffin, it is used in headache along with aspirin. In migraine, it is used along with ergot alkaloid. Theophylline, it is a third line drug in asthma COPD because it will cause bronchodilation. Sorry. It will cause a smooth muscle relaxation. So bronchodilation is there, and it inhibits the release of histamine and other mediators of inflammation from the mast cell. So these two characteristics are very much important in asthma, very much useful in asthma. Caffeine and theophylline both are used in apneic attacks, especially in the premature infants. The adverse drug reactions for these group of drugs are: first one, their therapeutic margin is very narrow. If the it is dose dependent. If we keep on increasing the concentration, side effects will be side effects also increase. The plasma concentration of these drugs increase, or it is more than 15 milliequivalents. The side effects like dyspepsia, headache, vomiting, palpitation will come. If we keep on increase, it may cause hypotension, arrhythmias, convulsions, coma, death may also occur. Interactions. These methylxanthines, they have many interactions. This theophylline enhances the furosemide digitalis oral anticoagulants and oral hypoglycemic agents. So, so these drugs effects will be increased. Few drugs, they inhibit the theophylline concentration. They are erythromycin, ciprofloxacin, cimetidine, oral contraceptives, and allopurinol. Few drugs, they decrease the theophylline concentration. They are carbamazepine, rifampicin, phenobarbital, phenytoin, smoking. Abuse. Caffeine containing beverages causes habituation, but there is no dependence. If a chronic coffee drinker who suddenly abstain from taking coffee suffer from headache and is having fatigue that may last for several days, it is not abuse, it is a habituation, it is not dependence. Thank you.